We're watching Mirror now. Thank you for joining us. We're looking at the big polls, and this is what the polls tell us, that Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh on the poll of polls shows a mixed result, with each of the poll giving a different result really, but personal popularity of both incumbent chief ministers might take the BJP through. But the big one here is Rajasthan. Rajasthan on your screen at this point, we'll see that most polls predict the Congress is likely to walk away with Rajasthan. A deep, perhaps unpopularity of the incumbent chief minister, Vasundhara Raje, might be what will result in the BJP losing Rajasthan. Remember, the big problems continue to remain agricultural. The farmers being upset. It seems to be something on the state level that's costing these governments and might actually influence the votes in a great deal. I have a panel with me: Gopal Agarwal of the BJP, Salman Soos of the Congress, Radhika Ramsey, consulting editor with the Business Standard, Padat Kumar Raut, political journalist and analyst, Barkha Dutt, senior journalist, Kingsuk Nag is also a senior journalist and an author. My colleagues Vinay Tiwari and Tanvi Shukla join me as well. And I just want a quick point here. We also have Ranjan Man, senior journalist, joining us out of Jaipur. Mr. Ranjan Man, I want to come to you first. Is this perhaps testimony to the unpopularity or the lack of popularity of the current Rajasthan chief minister? Do you also agree with the polls that the Congress is going to walk away with the state?
It does seem so. For the longest time, we've all been anticipating that the BJP is in trouble. It's been pretty obvious since the BJP got trounced in the by-elections in Rajasthan in February this year. Ever since then, there's been this whole question of both anti-incumbency, and a very strong one at that. And secondly, in many ways, this could well be considered a verdict on the style of functioning and the governance that Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje has provided. Remember, when the BJP came into power in Rajasthan 5 years ago, they came in with a historic mandate. Nobody had ever got over 80% of the seats in the 200-seat assembly. For the first time, the BJP got that magical figure. And then what it leads to is also a huge revolution of expectations. So people then expect that all the promises that have been made to them will be fulfilled, will be taken care of by the government that you've brought in with such huge majority. Somewhere it's pretty obvious that the connect with the ordinary citizen went wrong. Much of the blame actually went to Vasundhara Raje, despite the fact that she's carried out a number of yatras, etc. But somewhere that accessibility, that availability that the government and particularly the chief minister is supposed to have, that was missing, and that created a buzz. But to be fair to Vasundhara Raje, while this is perhaps an indication of how people currently reflect on her governance as well as of her style of functioning, we must remember that she was handicapped all through these 5 years by a very strong perception that had been created that indeed she was no favorite with the Delhi Darbar within the BJP top brass, that she was certainly on the wrong side of the Narendra Modi, Amit Shah combine that currently dominates the BJP. So I think somewhere that buzz of her not being a favorite led to a deepening of the infighting. She's always had problems with the RSS wing in Rajasthan, and somewhere down the line that perception and that message went across that she was no favorite with Delhi, and therefore she was no position to actually really get things moving. And eventually governance suffered in the state. And if these poll results actually bear out on the 11th, then most people who are close, keen, and serious observers of Rajasthan's politics will hardly be surprised. That's exactly the way most people had actually anticipated this election going.
Well, Radhika Ramsey, I have a question for you. Of course, there is a Muslim population of a little over 10% in the state of Rajasthan. And the questions of hate crime and the questions of perhaps religious polarization also arose before this particular election. Do you think that had any part to play in what we're seeing in these exit polls right now?
Religious polarization, yes. Rajasthan was one of the biggest casualties of some horrendous incidents, and there was not a trace of remorse or regret from the state government, which is very unfortunate. But, in these elections, I found that lynching, etc., got completely overshadowed by bread and butter issues, some agrarian crisis, lack of MSP on most of the produce that the farmers cultivated, then power shortage, lack of irrigation, and most important, discriminate disbursement of the Chief Minister's schemes. On paper, some of them looked very attractive, like the Bhamasha Yojana and drip irrigation. There were a lot of other schemes. The point I want to make is that Vasundhara ran a very confused agenda this time. She didn't know whether she wanted to be pro-reforms, whether she wanted to be populist. Then she kind of mixed up the two, and in the process, she ended up pleasing none. She hosted this huge resurgent Rajasthan summit in 2015 to attract investors. But it's worth checking out actually on how many investments the state actually attracted. I suspect none, though Rajasthan has good roads as compared with Madhya Pradesh. So there was confusion. She's not an organizational person at all. Her tenure is always marked by lack of coordination between her government and the party. She doesn't care two hoots for the BJP organization.
Actually,
and there was very little that Mr. Amit Shah could do. He couldn't even have his own state president. She put her foot down, and ultimately they had to settle for a consensus candidate. So, there were personality flaws, there were functional problems, all of which didn't make for a pretty picture for the BJP in Rajasthan.
Just to add to what Radhika Ramseshan is saying, Faye, on the schemes. Now, in fact, a Rajasthan government scheme looks so good on paper and are so, have been appreciated so much that a lot of that has been adopted by the central government, especially the Bhamasha scheme, and when it comes to, food security as well, and distribution of LPG, and even the Bhamasha card itself is supposedly the original Aadhaar before Aadhaar went national across the state. But the fact of the matter is that there is a lot of discontent in the way it was implemented. So, in the rural areas and amongst the underprivileged, people are very unhappy because they've not been able to get the benefits despite having these cards, despite having their names on the rolls. There's been a lot of confusion when it comes to implementation, and that anger was very visible.
Yes.
And compare that to what was happening in Ashok Gehlot's era, where that government went overboard with their populist schemes and literally, when it came to ration schemes and food security, that government had gone overboard. So people who were used to all of that welfare coming in got very upset that this government is not continuing with that and they're not getting any benefits.
Yes, Mr. Rao?
Vasundhara Raje, this was not her first term as a chief minister. Even before she had become a chief minister, but I think her performance was worse this time. Because as she said, the popular schemes of the government, she failed to implement them, and whichever schemes were implemented, she failed to popularize them.
Yes.
So this is perhaps her royalty. People thought that her royalty is coming in between. Rani, people used to call her Rani, and she never took objection to that.
Yes.
She allowed them to keep calling her Rani, which is going against the current.
Yes. And, when I want to ask you this, obviously, if you divide constituencies at this point, there was a problem from a caste point of view. Reservations were offered to one group of people, and that upset the other groups. The Rajputs and the Brahmins were upset about the OBC reservations being given out. The farmers were upset, again, large farming community, they were upset about the agrarian crisis, no jobs, polarization upset the minorities. So there was all of this working against Vasundhara Raje. But on the other side, we just saw Sachin Pilot address a press conference, perhaps racing to it faster than Gehlot. There was still, what seems to be uniform across the Congress was the fact that they had infighting. They didn't have clarity on their campaigns. They didn't have clarity when they were handing out tickets. So one of the things that did happen in Rajasthan was that the minorities and the Muslims were upset that the Congress didn't come out openly to support the Muslims. They wanted to seem slightly more Hindu then they didn't publicly come out and hand out enough tickets, and that upset people within the cadre as well.
Yes, and I think there are three things which are perhaps the most important to understand here. Look, there are always competing demands and issues which vie for your attention or vie for a government's whatever, but the people must know where you stand. And I think in Rajasthan's case, as Radhika rightly said, they weren't very sure of where they stand. And in trying to please everybody, you actually end up pleasing no one. That was the first problem. The second problem, unlike say...
Do you mean in the BJP or the Congress?
In the BJP, in the BJP. And unlike say, for instance, Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Raman Singh, Vasundhara's connect, and Rajan, I think, will be a better judge of that, but Vasundhara's connect with her own cadre is perhaps the poorest among all three chief ministers. She's inaccessible. She's not as accessible as, say, the kind of hold that Shivraj Singh and Raman Singh have on their cadre, Vasundhara doesn't have. And I think the third issue, which is very important, which Radhika alluded to and Rajan as well, Rajan alluded to, in fact, was the fact that most political leaders in Rajasthan, BJP cadre or workers, knew that she's not exactly the favorite of Delhi. The problems with Vasundhara started just when the swearing in of Mr. Modi was about to happen. I mean, she had dug her heels to get her person into the cabinet. It's not something that is taken very kindly by the current leadership in BJP. They don't like people taking them on. And this started then. So she wasn't exactly a favorite then as well. And this obviously, and this enthuses the cadre also down below. And that led to a greater amount of infighting, which was not checked by the central leadership as hard as it perhaps gets checked in other states.
But central leadership could have controlled her, isn't it? It is not Modi such supreme leader.
Yes, sir, I suspect
he could have controlled her.
Yes.
But I think he failed, either willfully or he didn't realize the danger.
So there were, you're saying, and I think that's unanimous, there were a lot of opportunities perhaps to either change the chief minister during the last term or perhaps change whatever was being projected in this election, but those opportunities were not taken.
Vinod Sharma disagrees.
Yes, Mr. Sharma, go ahead. Mr. Sharma.
No, I want to say 2-3 things, which we are missing out in this debate. First, BJP did not have a clear alternative face to Vasundhara Raje. Please understand this, and that is why she could have her way. But there were a lot of problems in the Congress party. The factionalism was much greater in Rajasthan than it was in Madhya Pradesh. That the ticket distribution by the Congress party has created a situation where it may win, but it may not win with the kind of numbers with which it could have won. And if they had projected, in my personal assessment, Mr. Ashok Gehlot as the chief ministerial candidate, the Congress would have won by a massive margin across the state.
Okay.
Because he is not confined in terms of his connect with the people to just the Marwar region from which he comes. He has connect across the regions in Rajasthan. And his problem with Sachin Pilot and the Congress's reluctance to show a chief ministerial face comparable to Vasundhara Raje may have cost them some seats, together with bad selection of candidates.
I want to take that question to Barkha, that senior journalist who joins us right now. Barkha, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Here's my question. Rajasthan, most of the polls show Congress, perhaps walking away with that state. But did the Congress squander an opportunity here by not being clear about who the chief ministerial candidate is or who the leader is, or not being cohesive about that campaign?
Well, Faye, I would say that the Congress actually defied conventional wisdom by not fielding a chief ministerial candidate, but I would in fact argue that it's worked out well for them. Had Rahul Gandhi chosen to put his weight behind either Ashok Gehlot or Sachin Pilot ahead of the campaign, I think you would have seen these two camps of the Congress at odds with each other. I think this way, the Congress leadership conveyed to both of these leaders, Mr. Gehlot clearly being the veteran among them, that look, right now the focus has to be on defeating Vasundhara Raje. So I actually think the Congress has defied conventional logic, if these figures are correct, out of Rajasthan, and actually played a more interesting game, which is that the party is fighting, not the person. Secondly, one of the things I want to point out is that this is very much Vasundhara Raje's defeat, if it is indeed a defeat. And let me tell you what I mean by that. There will be extrapolations for what this means for 2019. Rajasthan does send 25 members of parliament, 25 members to parliament. However, one of the most common slogans on the ground in Rajasthan was Modi tujhse bair nahi, Rani teri khair nahi. Translated means, Mr. Modi, we don't have a problem with you, but we're going to ensure that the Queen is defeated. The arrogance of Vasundhara Raje, her aloofness, the fact that the BJP did not put her weight behind her, Amit Shah and Narendra Modi were seen to not like her, the fact that she pushed back against the party when it came to Union Minister Gajendra Shekhawat becoming the leader of the BJP in Rajasthan, all of these things went against Vasundhara. She was seen to be a remote leader, disconnected from her cadre. So I actually think the Congress played it pretty smartly. Their problems will begin now when they have to decide who will be Chief Minister of the state.
Yes,
if these numbers are authentic on the 11th.
Well, yes, of course, I must remind our viewers that these are polls really, and they're exit polls, so they're small groups of people and opinions that have been now extrapolated to the entire state. So having said that, we are looking at the exit polls. There's one more state, and I actually want this panel to have a conversation about what this means from a national point of view. But let's also very quickly take a look at Telangana, and this is something we had sort of expected from Telangana. The youngest state, it has, of course, the TRS run by Mr. K.C. Rao. The TRS in all of the polls, as you can see very clearly, retaining the state. KCR is a strong leader. He's a clear leader. The TDP doing close to nothing. And Chandrababu Naidu is going to be very disappointed with that, because he would have assumed that his popularity in the city of Hyderabad, or the urban portions of what is now Telangana, would have won him something at least, but it has not. And it does look like the caretaker chief minister and his gamble of calling for an early election has paid off, and he will retain the state. Vinay?
Yes, and I think why Telangana is a very critical state to analyze and understand, especially for the Congress. And I'm using this word especially for Congress because it fancies itself to be in the pole position to be the opposition leader, right? So for them, this is the state with the biggest warning for them. And I'll tell you why. This is the only state in the current round of elections where Mr. Modi is not a factor at all.
Yes.
This election has no Modi or no BJP. In Telangana, that's not a factor at all. So it's not really about the persona of Mr. Modi that is overriding or influencing or affecting voter behavior completely. This is complete election dependent on state level leaders between KCR and the others. And in that case, KCR has come up trumps. I mean, all the polls are agreeing with that.
Yes.
It also shows you that KCR has his feet on the ground. He's a smart leader. He preponed the polls knowing fully well that he would lose in the event of the elections becoming a fight with Mr. Modi being in the picture. Because remember, if Telangana had gone to polls along with the national elections, Mr. Modi's presence in that state and the larger-than-life persona that he has would have played a role. And in a state like this,
if the Congress couldn't
take
any
advantage of it, one, coming up with a dud coalition in many ways, and two, be unable to take on a leader in a state which arguably in the undivided state there was very, very strong, not very long back.
Let me just take that to PL Vishweshwar Rao, Professor of Osmania University, who's joined us and very patiently has been listening to us talk about other states this entire time. Professor Rao, I thank you for your time. Do you see, of course, KCR retaining the state, and do you believe that perhaps the Khichdi politics of Congress with the TDP and the CPI and that entire what they call rainbow coalition was a mistake?
Yeah, but it's important for me to make a point that not that Modi did not spend sufficient time here. Modi did come. Amit Shah has been coming regularly to Telangana. The BJP will not make any kind of an impact there. They wanted to have some kind of a hold in Telangana, but that's not going to happen. Ultimately, BJP is going to be confined to perhaps 2 or 3 seats. But what is important to know for our discussion is why TRS is in a position to make some impact is some of his policies, some of his schemes, particularly the pension scheme, which has introduced. When the Congress government was there, it was only 200 rupees. Now, he made it 1,000 rupees. Now, in this election, he promised, that he's going to be paying 3,000 rupees pension. But there are several kinds of issues which we need to talk about when Telangana is concerned. It is rather surprising that the exit polls indicate that he is going to be coming back to power. But if you look at several of his policies, he could not really implement. One of the major promises in Telangana, in fact, if we are discussing about Telangana, there has been a movement for about 60 years. One of the major issues was employment here, which Mr. Chandrasekhar Rao could not do it. He promised 2 lakh people will be recruited. He could not recruit many people. In fact, just before he dissolved the assembly, He made a promise that there are 1,07,000 posts, still pending. He could not do it. But the reasons why KCR is doing, because Congress took a lot of time in announcing their candidates. For the first time in Telangana, Congress, Communist Party of India, Telugu Desam has been anti-Congress, as all of you know, for the last 35, 40 years. In fact, Telugu Desam was established only against the Congress policies by
Professor.
N.T. Rama Rao. And there was a lot of opposition to Mr. Chandrababu Naidu coming to Telangana and canvassing, because TDP was against Telangana, creation of Telangana. That has, a lot of them in Telangana did not appreciate Chandrababu Naidu coming and campaigning in Telangana. That has definitely went against the Congress party, because here the party.
So the entire Mahakutami, as it's called, which is the alliance between the TDP and the Congress, seems to have
opposing.
Hurts the Congress.
And in fact, Chandrababu Naidu also has been sort of creating several hurdles for several of the irrigation projects.
Yes.
But one point
forgive me, Professor, I'm running out of time, so I just want to quickly turn the attention. If I may turn the attention of the panel.
Supporting TRS.
Yes, forgive me. I just want to turn the attention of the panel right now to what all of this means from a national point of view. Now, there are a couple of big takeaways I just want to leave on the table for the panel to discuss. One of which is perhaps, if you look at the heartland, the Hindi heartland of the Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, the BJP is, from all of these polls, losing ground. So even in polls where they show that they're retaining the state, or they show that they're retaining some of it, they have lost seats from the previous year. So is the BJP losing ground in the Hindi heartland? Has the BJP's momentum hit a bump before 2019? And is it largely because of the farm and the job crisis, or will those be state subjects and will they not affect the general election? And the question mark on the Congress's ability for coalition management and the Congress's ability to sort of keep its internal problems clear and make sure that its various leaders don't butt heads in the middle of a campaign, which has perhaps costed them in some of those states. So these are the points I want to put forward to the panel that we will discuss. Mr. Rao, you saw it, and just raise your hand if you want to come in, and I'll come straight to you. Mr. Rao, you go first. Do you believe that these are the trends we're seeing?
Yeah, I think the way the exit poll results are showing, if Congress loses at least one state, which seems to be certain, Rajasthan, it will be losing that. In that case, and it is not doing very well in Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, it is not in reckoning at all. So apart from Chhattisgarh, in this entire series, only one state is strongly with BJP.
The BJP.
I think this is an alarm bell for the BJP, because unless they now strengthen themselves, they will have major problem in the state, because in UP they are not likely to go ahead. Last time they had 170. I think this time they would not be able to retain that.
And Gujarat, since if you get 100 out of 100, you're not perhaps not going to.
Punjab is already gone. Rajasthan, it seems that it is going. If Madhya Pradesh is not doing as well as before, then you have to bank on the southern states where BJP is not very strong. So from where does BJP get those extra seats that they need to have their own power, which they have been boasting? So it is an alarm bell for Modi and BJP.
I saw Salman Soz put his hand up. Salman Soz, spokesperson of the Congress, I beg your pardon, joining us out of Srinagar. Mr. Soz, go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes, Mr. Agarwal, I'll come to you immediately after.
The question that you raise is a very important one, and I think we shouldn't just look at these elections. If you look at what happened in the by-elections in Rajasthan earlier, in by-elections in Uttar Pradesh, where the chief minister's seat was lost, the deputy chief minister's seat was lost in the Lok Sabha by-elections, and then in Madhya Pradesh, around the country, by-election results were going against the BJP. And now this is a continuation. I mean, think about what's happening in Rajasthan. Congress had 22 seats and we're going to win, I think, by a very comfortable margin. That means a huge swing. In Madhya Pradesh, we were down by about 8 percentage points. That's a huge swing to cover. And if we're going to cover that in Madhya Pradesh, I can tell you that in Chhattisgarh, we're going to win comfortably. Because Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, the issues are very, very similar. In Telangana,
so let me redirect your attention to what this means on the national stage.
So that's what I'm coming to. I'm coming to that. What I'm saying is, there is now a momentum building against what I believe has been, in some ways, the failed government of Narendra Modi. The Narendra Modi government has ended up being a great disappointment for the people of India. There were very high expectations, but after people have seen what they've wrought on the economy, right? I mean, this after demonetization, GST, failures on job creation, I think that really kind of is hitting, and now this momentum is going to build, and it's going to hit them in the Lok Sabha.
Okay, all right. So I saw Barkha that had something to say, and here's my question really about the Congress.
By installing, Faye, just one final point.
Very quickly,
by
please.
Installing in Uttar Pradesh, which is our biggest state, a chief minister who's clearly unable to govern, who's incompetent, who's insensitive.
All right. I see what you're saying. Barkha, here's my question. While there are opportunities of anti-incumbency being offered to the Congress in fighting or inability to manage their leaders, inability to reach a consensus, has that costed them? And the coalition in Telangana obviously was a complete mess. They couldn't even decide which seats to contest it.
Well, Faye, I think Salman is making a political speech and that's his job. But if you look at these exit polls dispassionately, it tells you two things. One, what's happening in Madhya Pradesh and Chattisgarh is not a wave for the Congress, nor is it disgust with Narendra Modi. It is fatigue with chief ministers who have been there for 3 terms. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is seeking a 4th term. So I would hesitate to extrapolate a conclusion from this for 2019. Yes, it shows that the Congress is back in the game, but that's about all it shows. For me, I agree, I think, with what Vinay said, if I'm not wrong, that Telangana is really delivering a health warning to both the BJP and the Congress. The fact is that Telangana is showing up the limitations of Gathbandhan politics. When you look at the Prajakutumi, the fact that all of these opposition parties arithmetically were more in vote share than KCR's party. But the fact is, if these polls are correct, KCR's chemistry trumped the arithmetic of that Mahagathbandhan. To me, what these exit polls are saying is, yes, the Congress is wrenching its way open in the Hindi heartland, but 2019 may be decided by the southern states, and that's what the exit polls are telling me today.
We have Kingsuk Nag as well, who's a senior journalist joining us out of Hyderabad. But first, Vinay, quick point on, are you comfortable looking at what we're looking at in these polls and saying that perhaps the BJP is losing ground in the heartland? And the heartland is where most of the seats, where they would hope to win most of those seats.
For me, 3 very clear things. Number one, if these numbers hold true, and I'm using if because exit polls can go horribly wrong, but
yes.
If that holds true, one mistake that people shouldn't make is to try and extrapolate state results into national elections. People tend to vote differently very often. And I don't think there is a direct correlation between how they vote.
As we saw in Rajasthan, where they say we don't have a problem with the Prime Minister, but we have a problem with the Chief Minister.
Absolutely. And I would totally agree with Barkha that in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, it's largely to do with the Chief Ministers and not necessarily the Prime Minister at all, which is why I mentioned about Telangana. Number 2, I definitely believe that these elections will definitely lead to a course correction within the central government's policy vis-a-vis the farmers, because I think BJP is smart enough to realize that the disenchantment amongst the agrarian community and the farmers is serious, and it can potentially lead to a damaging situation, provided the opposition exploits it. The third takeaway for this is, I have so far not seen evidence of it on ground, but the Congress is a poor learner from its past mistakes. And if they continue to not learn from the mistake, they will have a tough time in 2019. There are enough, the answer is there is enough vacuum to be occupied, provided they have the ability to go and occupy that vacuum.
And you're right about the fact that the BJP is probably going to use this as a pathology test, as a blood test, and then quickly make course corrections in whatever. And the BJP has shown over and over again that it has the ability to course correct, to learn, to analyze. They'll probably start tomorrow trying to figure out.
These elections tell you there is vacuum to be occupied. Do you have the nimble-footedness and the organizational strength to do that well? Is a question mark still.
All right, Gopal Agarwal, go ahead, please. Will the BJP see this perhaps as a reason to introspect, to figure out why you're losing seats or why you're losing ground in the Hindi heartland? Or you think that you're still optimistic about the results?
No, what I want to tell is this is not this is just an exit poll and not the exact poll. The thing is that if anybody is trying to just write off BJP just based on these exit polls, then he will get a big shock of his life, and he is going to get a terrible, going to terribly wrong on these predictions. And when you were all discussing, you were saying that the economy is the main factor on which the people vote. Whatever debate with regard to religion, caste, etc., are there in the narration, but ultimately for an individual it is important that how much progress has been made with regard to roti, kapda and makan. So on those all parameters, central economy has done under Narendra Modi, all the parameters, macroeconomic parameters, inflation, anything, etc., GDP growth, fastest growing economy, ease of doing business, all those parameters the central government has performed extremely well. And with regard to state governments, if you look into the social service delivery of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan or Chhattisgarh, we are scoring far ahead of Congress government and previous government. So what are the factors that anybody can say why people should be angry just because we were there in power for 15 years in Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh or for 5 years in Rajasthan?
Yes, but
you
I
cannot,
disagree with you when you say that
you cannot just say because of this.
Social welfare schemes, because if that was definitely not what most people say happened in Rajasthan. On ground, the schemes look great on paper, but weren't really getting implemented right. In the past, of course, some of the other state governments have used it. In MP, you've used your central schemes well, but not in Rajasthan. But I'm sorry I'm interrupting you there, but I actually had a...
Faye, let me finish. I heard for half an hour everybody. I heard for half an hour everybody. Let me at least talk for 5-6 minutes, etc. At all. The issue is in Rajasthan, who were angry with the state government? Those who were our Karyakartas, those who were working with us in various organizations. They had some resentment, but at the end, in last 15 days, we had been from the central and the state been able to establish good communication and took care of those grievances. So if the Prime Minister has also said if anybody is going to see a big surprise, it will be the Rajasthan election. We have been able to curb all the negativity among our Karyakartas and the people which are closely associated to us. If you go into Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh, the Bhamasha card was in great demand in Rajasthan. The Sambal card was more in demand in Madhya Pradesh than even the BPL card. So many social benefit schemes were
you went and you did give Bhamasha card to every lady in each of the households, but most of them weren't getting anything out of it. That was the complaint. Now, whether you want to listen to that issue and fix it before general elections is totally your call, Mr. Gopal Agarwal, and your party's call. Quick response from Mr. Salman Soz on that, and then actually I have another question about coalition politics and where Congress stands there. But Salman Soz, you want to respond to what Gopal Agarwal is saying?
No, I mean, I think Gopal Agarwal can say whatever he wants. Obviously, he has to speak for his party. But what is, by the way, it is, I wanted to get to this national election kind of perspective that you asked about. You know, it's all very well to say that at the state level, the governments, you know, there's anti-incumbency, they've been in power for such a long time. But remember, during these 15 years in both Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and by the way, in Rajasthan, BJP has ruled 4 out of the last 6 elections BJP has won. So they've had the party organization, they've had a time to kind of build all that. It's not easy to, it's not easy to kind of just turn tables just like that. But remember, it's not just anti-incumbency there. It's also what Mr. Modi has given to India in the form of these big initiatives like demonetization and the totally ridiculous implementation of GST. That has impacted the states also. So do not think for a moment that Mr. Modi is suddenly going to be immune from all this. All of this is building up. I can tell you.
But the question is really, Salman Soz, will you be able to take advantage of what is building up? Let me take that question. Yes, okay, fair enough. Let me take the question, and I need to be able to give everybody an opportunity to speak, but our politicians might be monopolizing time. Vinod Sharma, will the Congress be able to take advantage of
just 10 seconds more.
No, Mr. Agarwal, please. Mr. Agarwal, please. I will come back to you, I promise, but I have to allow everybody to speak. Mr. Vinod Sharma, will the Congress have the ability to take advantage of the vacuum that Vinay Tiwari was talking about that is being created? Because past experience suggests otherwise.
See, Congress is its own worst enemy. It can, get a defeat out of victory in no time, And it almost got it in Rajasthan, in my assessment. But let me go back a bit in history. In 2013, the Congress spirit was broken and it's lost the heart to fight after the defeat in these 3 states in the 2013 elections. And we saw the Congress not putting up even an iota of resistance, not even fighting for an honorable defeat in the 2014 elections. Now, this time, if there is a reversal of fate, then the Congress will have to carefully chalk out its strategy. First, that it should not be complacent when it is discussing a national alliance with other partners. It should not treat them as lesser partners, which it may, if it wins these 3 states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. There is a possibility, a remote chance of their retaining all 3, getting all 3. But if it does not happen, then perhaps there would be a greater equanimity of mind and they would be more reasonable with their allies. But my doubt is that if they win all these 3, they will put up a price and they'll mess up the entire scene. But the big key game changer will be UP in the 2019 elections, and there the Congress is out of the equation. There the Samajwadi and the BSP will be the main players who would be in a position to deny, by the most conservative estimate, about 50 seats to the BJP. And if that happens and Congress is willing to become a junior partner there of the BSP and give BSP some share of parliamentary seats in other states where it could not forge an alliance this time, for instance in Chhattisgarh, in Madhya Pradesh and in Rajasthan, then I think that the better line will be more formidable and more equal in terms of the results with the BJP. But BJP has to think very closely. Yes. It has to introspect as much. 25 out of 25 they had won in Rajasthan. They had, barring 2 seats, they had won all in Madhya Pradesh. And in Chhattisgarh, too, their tally was on the very, very high side. I think all the seats they won. Now, the question is that can they retain all those seats in the next elections?
Right. Can they retain those?
This is not a vote against Mr. Modi.
Yes. All right. Radhika ji, go ahead.
That's right.
Yeah. 2-3 quick points. One is that the Congress has to sort out its entire approach, its policy on coalitions. I think it went for a rather cynical kind of alliance with the TDP. Till the other day, the TDP was your worst enemy in undivided Andhra Pradesh, and now you go and embrace Chandrababu Naidu and do an alliance with him in Telangana, knowing fully well that Naidu had opposed the creation of Telangana to tooth and nail. What does this reflect? It reflects very poorly on the political judgment of the Congress leadership. On the other hand, you had an opportunity to make up with Ajit Jogi in Chhattisgarh, be magnanimous and offer seats to the BSP in Chhattisgarh and to the BSP and Samajwadi Party in Madhya Pradesh, where both of them have their pockets of influence. There, no, you played big brother, you spurned whatever overtures were made. So I think first and foremost, the Congress has to sort out, has to wrap its mind around alliances. And secondly, I mean, everybody is talking about BJP losing ground. If indeed these projections are accurate, barring Rajasthan, I don't think the BJP has lost that much ground. And knowing how the focus with which Mr. Amit Shah and his team are already working on 2019, and his kind of, his penchant for creating all kinds of strategies and sort of brilliant election management, I think they would be able to make up whatever ground, little ground or not so little ground they may have lost in these elections. So, which means that the BJP is going to still be the most important poll of 2019. And of course, the dynamics do change in the Lok Sabha elections. I mean, everywhere, it's a pattern that I saw right from Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, that ye chota chunav mein we will vote for Congress or Janata Dal Secular in Karnataka, bada chunav mein hum Modi ke liye vote karenge. But of course, the situation may change for the BJP by the time 2019 comes. But that, the ball is fairly and squarely in the Congress's court now.
Right, Kingsuk Nag joins us, senior journalist out of Hyderabad. Mr. Nag, thank you for joining us and thank you for being so patient. But do you see the alliance there between the Congress and the TDP sort of, it just seemed like a mess. It didn't, there was no cohesive messaging that came out of it. It left voters, there were jokes about how it left voters and party workers confused.
No, that's not true. This alliance is with a purpose. The Congress party realizes that it cannot go to the national polls with Rahul Gandhi as prime ministerial candidate. Therefore, they brought in Naidu. Naidu is going to be an alliance partner who is going to be pushed as a prime ministerial candidate. And Naidu, like Modi, is also a great maneuverer. So if anybody can match Modi in maneuverability, it is Naidu, and that's why he's been brought. So this is an alliance which has got a future. Of course, if the TDP Congress alliance wins the Telangana, which now seems unlikely, then this alliance would have been stronger. But the fact of the matter is that the Congress party and its allies also realize that Rahul Gandhi as the prime ministerial candidate cannot see through the Congress in the next 2019 polls. So therefore, they need an equally strong leader who can match Modi, and that's what the alliance is all about.
Well, now this is taking a very interesting turn. I saw Barka put her hand up. Barka, that disagrees with you. Barka, you don't see Chandrababu Naidu as any sort of competition for Modi, do you?
No, in fact, I want to agree with Radhika. I think it is a mistake to overread a kind of growing disenchantment with Narendra Modi at the central level going by these exit polls. I think you cannot equate creeping fatigue, as happened, for example, with Sheila Dikshit after 3 terms in Delhi, with what's happening, in Rajasthan. So I think these are two completely separate things. The other point I want to make that none of us have spoken about yet is the third front, for lack of a better phrase. If indeed the TRS does very well in Telangana, you are going to see KCR express perhaps some national aspirations. He has met with Mamata Banerjee in the past. You could see the re-emergence of a front within a front. So let's pay close attention to that. I do say again and again, we're focusing too much on the Hindi heartland because we're all convinced that UP is going to decide the outcome of 2019. We are not paying enough attention to the South as the bulwark against Narendra Modi. And my last point would be that Mr. Modi's attempt will be to make 2019 presidential, to make himself the issue, to make himself the basis on which people should either vote or vote against. The opposition, if it is smart, I think would need to do the opposite. I think the biggest fatal error for the Congress would be, even if it takes these 3 states, let's say of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chattisgarh, is to suddenly start saying Rahul Gandhi for Prime Minister. The moment you make it a personality battle, it's advantage Narendra Modi. What the opposition needs to do and take away from these elections is to localize. As much as Mr. Modi makes it personality based, the opposition needs to think national but be local. It needs to localize and fight 543 local elections if it has a fighting chance of taking on Mr. Modi in 2019, because honestly, to vote out Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Raman Singh in extremely close elections in Madhya Pradesh and Chattisgarh is not suggestive of a growing mood against Narendra Modi. It is suggestive of unhappiness with demonetization, with agrarian distress. I think the numbers seem to suggest that even in Gujarat you saw that rural discontentment fade. But let's remember, Narendra Modi will make it presidential. The opposition needs to localize and look out for KCR and leaders in the South expressing national aspirations.
So just to add to that, I have a question. Maybe Vinay or Mr. Raut can also answer on that. Like Barkha is saying, what we need to look out for is what it does to all the other political rival parties and whether or not they can come together as a challenge to Prime Minister Modi. Now, does it look like with these kind of numbers, Congress is now going to go to the table and say, hey, see, we have performed better. We deserve to have a bigger voice on this table now. Will that make the possibility of a coalition more difficult and more complicated?
Well, I think the ball is pretty much in Congress's court. One, Congress has to, irrespective of the results in these four states, I think Congress has to realize it's no longer a pan-Indian party that it used to be. I think they have just abrogated this thing on themselves that they are still a national party. They are not. They used to be a national party. They are no longer that. Which means you have to reduce the size of your ego. You have to accommodate other egos. And remember, the opposition front has egos which are gigantic in size. And some of those egos are for legitimate purposes because they are kings and queens of their own state. You would expect Mamta to take a back seat in a coalition. It's not going to happen. You expect a Mayawati to take a back seat in a coalition. If she comes back with 30 seats in a coalition with SP, that's not going to happen. There are very strong regional leaders who have performance to back them consistently, who will have a voice and a say, which means the ego of Congress and Mr. Rahul Gandhi has to be brought down a notch or two. They have to think of themselves as another regional player who's willing to adapt to the changing scenario. Then there are two strategies. One is the pre-poll strategy and the other is the post-poll, because both are going to be equally messy. What Kingshuk was referring to was perhaps a post-poll scenario where Chandrababu Naidu will appear as the most acceptable candidate in a messy coalition. Yes. That's perhaps what they're aiming for.
But you know, I'm curious to go down this road. Do you see Chandrababu Naidu as the most acceptable candidate in that messy coalition? Because there are kings and queens.
When there is a national mess, anything can happen. Did you anytime think that Deve Gowda would be the national choice? Did you anytime think that Indra Kumar Gujarat would come as a national choice? But it happens. Anything is possible in love and war and politics. So it has happened. So my perception in this is, though I hate to come to any value judgment based on exit polls, I think a scenario where Congress, if it plays a little wiser game, it stands to gain. If Sonia Gandhi and other congressmen, they keep beating the drum of Rahul Gandhi right from now, then this coalition will never ever happen. Because as Prasad said, that there are many leaders, there are at least 7 leaders apart from Rahul Gandhi, those who are aspirants for the prime ministership by themselves and by their people. For example, Mulayam Singh, Mamata Banerjee, then Mayawati, Sharad Pawar, Telugu Desam ka
Mayawati, let's not forget
they are all
Mayawati.
aspirants, and their people do think that their leader is the supreme leader. In that case, how do you come to arrive at any conclusion? So if there is like what had happened post Indira Gandhi, that common
and let's be honest, the local sort of leaders that the Congress has is only in Punjab now. They don't have leaders anywhere else. But one second, Mr. Soz, I can see you. I see you've built up answers. I think that's visible on your face. But here are the things that have been said. Congress should act with wisdom. They should put their egos aside. They should now treat this with strategy. There seems to be a general sort of assumption on this panel.
Now they should realize that they are one among the equals.
Yes.
They are not supreme leaders of the coalition.
So, are the egos getting in the way, Salman Soz?
I think, look, I think if we just listen to the panel, perhaps they should come and run the Congress party. But we have to think about our workers. We have to think about our leaders who are working on the ground in so many states. And, you know, people think, somebody said that Congress party is like a regional party, right? Yeah, you can laugh, you know, it's very easy to laugh, but the thing is that in the South, we have strength. Now, from this election, you can see that in the heart of India, in the West, we've shown strength. In Gujarat, we showed strength. In Maharashtra, we'll show strength. In the East, we are strong. So the point is, it is all very well to say that the Congress party should do nothing. Perhaps everybody else should do everything and they should, you know, run the country. That's fine. But ultimately, the people of the country should be given an opportunity. By the way, we are not the ones who are saying that we're not going to work with other parties. Of course, we respect other parties. Think of what the BJP has done to its allies in Jammu and Kashmir. What have they done to Chandrababu Naidu? What are they doing to the Bihar Chief Minister? What have they done to AIADMK? The BJP is actually the one party which is against alliances. They want uniformity. Congress party wants
Okay,
unity
all
and
right, so-
diversity. We want to work with others, but please do not tell me that everybody should be dictating to this small regional party, as somebody put
All right,
out
you
there.
know, to be
But
fair,
we are
Salman
going
was to
do our
tell the
work.
panel
We're
that maybe
fighting for
should
the
come
soul
and
of
run
this
the party.
country, and
That's like a film director telling film critics, "Kabhi aap hi banao film, fir if you want to sit there and critique what we do." But this is what analysts, what political analysts do.
That's the thing, you know. But maybe we should stop working. Our workers should stop working, and they should. Then we should let other political parties, run all the affairs of the country. We are fighting a battle for the soul of this country. We are not going to give up. Other parties should step up as well. We are ready to work with anybody. But please do not tell us that we have to play second fiddle to everybody. Let the people of the country decide that.
Hey, can I say something?
Yes, Mr. Agarwal, go ahead, please.
First fiddle.
The issue is everybody is talking what BJP, how to defeat BJP. That this is the one narration which is not going to help the opposition parties. They have no common agenda. They have nothing vision for the country, and they only want, their only agenda is just to defeat BJP from at the center. So they may be somewhere down the line successful
But
in
Mr.
the
Agarwal,
state.
that's hardly
but the
something
coalition of people,
your
those
campaign
who are
has been
coming
Congress
together-
Mukt
No,
Bharat.
Faye, let me finish. I am hearing everybody
Okay.
so patiently.
10
You
seconds.
should let me tell what I want to tell. No. This is not. I was listening to everybody so patiently. Now you at least let me finish. You are just jumping in between. This is not fair. The issue is, what is the agenda? Everybody is talking about only to keep BJP out. What is your vision for the country? What is your vision for the nation? Where the economic policies you want to go? Have you talked of anything? We are talking where we want our nation to go. We have come out from a fragile 5 to now we are the 6th largest economy in the world, fastest growing economy in the world. Every macroeconomic
Mr. Agarwal,
parameter
would you
is
agree that
well
the
within,
farmers right
good,
now
numbers. No, but let me finish. My statement has not finished yet. The issue is these people of the country know that this coalition or is not a cohesive group. They cannot give leadership. They don't have a common vision. And to depend on them for the economic progress of the nation.
All right,
Such
Mr. Agarwal, I have to take a very
nation
quick
of
break. I have to
130
take a
crore
very quick break, but we'll come back and
not
I'll
going
get
to
final
help.
comments from my panel. Unfortunately, I have to take a quick break here. We'll come back on the other side and we'll find out if either of these parties right now have a clear vision or a clear run in 2019, or does it seem even more confusing than it was before these polls came out? On the other side, don't go anywhere.